With the QuietComfort Ultra, Bose finally tries to catch up with the rest of the wireless audio world when it comes to features. I have the Bose QuietComfort 45 and I really like them, so are the Ultras really worth the upgrade? With these, Bose combined the QuietComfort looks with the features of their previous flagship, the noise cancelling 700, and then added a heap of new features. And that made for a very, very good product, although not without its flaws. Now, this is not a comparison video, but the noise cancelling on the Ultras is an improvement over my older 45s without a doubt. These use a mix of adaptive and passive noise cancelling, so on takeoff, there was a little bit of popping, which is common in a lot of adaptive noise cancelling headsets, but this was very minor and lasted for maybe a couple of seconds.
Hey folks, Post-Edit Norb here. So I just got back from Japan and I took these as my headphones. On liftoff, takeoff, and on landing, these developed a pretty bad static. As we were taking off, I was very tired on the way back, so I fell asleep before we took off. Well, I woke up because I was wearing these and I heard this loud static in my ear as I'm taking off, which was a very disorienting experience. I don't recommend it. Basically, the lesson is the noise cancelling is weird during takeoff and landing. Anyway, back to the video.
The rest of the trip is fantastic. In fact, here's a comparison from a recent flight that I took. Now, if you're like me and you wear glasses, if your glasses have thick temples or they stick out a lot, then the noise cancelling does suffer somewhat. This is an issue with most headphones, but I was surprised at just how much of an impact it had with these. Still, overall, absolutely amazing noise cancelling capabilities, even in that case, in real world situations, not just flights. These also have a fantastic transparency mode, and you can hear your surroundings very clearly. It sounded very natural to me, much more so than my QC45s, which they sounded kind of robotic. Plus, if you're using the Aware preset, you can turn on Active Sense, which reduces the transparency automatically if it gets too loud. All of these things work great, and honestly, I don't know why Active Sense is off by default when you have transparency beyond a certain point, or why you can't add it to any of the noise cancelling modes that you can create. By the way, that's something that I really liked too. You can use the software to set up these modes that let you set the level of noise cancelling or transparency and whether you want to use immersive audio or not. I'll talk more about immersive audio later on, but keep this in mind. You can also cycle through all those modes by pressing and holding the play button on the headphones themselves. The other new big feature that I liked was on-ear detection, which also lets you automatically answer calls as soon as you put them on. Both of these worked well enough for me, although once in a while music would randomly pause because either my glasses or because I had it positioned wrong in my head. This was rare, but it did happen enough to annoy me once in a while. Finally, of course, you have multi-point connections. You can pair up to 8 devices with 2 active at a time. As for the switchover between devices, this worked okay most of the time. The switchover would be smooth and quick, but sometimes depending on the app I used, I'd have issues with music pausing over and over and over again, especially on my phone for about a minute after switching it from my computer. I'd get a notification on my computer which came through the headphones, but then switching back into the phone would get wonky for a minute with a pausing and playing and pausing and playing. So let's talk grades. 1 means I hate it, 5 means I love it, 3 is okay. For noise cancelling, I'm giving these a 4.5 out of 5. The half-point drop is because of how heavily the glasses seem to impact the effectiveness. For pass-through, I'm giving these a 5 out of 5. I do wish Active Sense was on by default, but this is among the best I've ever tried. For features, 4 out of 5. Both multi-point connect and on-ear detection were wonky at times, but generally I really liked the way they worked. If I could add one more feature to these, it would be some kind of findability feature like tile or find my integration. The thing I've always liked about the QuietComfort line is that they tend to be true to the comfort part of the name. The QC Ultras are light, coming in at 253 grams or 8.9 ounces. They don't squeeze too hard, and the ear pads and under part of the headband are extremely supple. They're an artificial leather that's wrapped around memory foam, which is really well implemented. And the ear pads are replaceable. Now, with glasses on, these aren't bad. As someone with big ears though, I do love the size of the ear cups, even though the headphones themselves are pretty low profile, meaning that they don't stick out a bunch. My ears right now fit comfortably inside and the speakers are angled so that my ears don't rub up against the cloth inside. The body itself is plastic, which is why it's so light, but it doesn't feel cheap or crack. And although it does take some cues from the NC700, like the shape of the ear cups, it also folds, which is great. And as for travel, the case is perfect. It's compact, it has extra internal storage for cables. I can't ask for anything more. With the QuietComfort Ultras, Bose did change the controls some by adding a few touch controls. Now this matches the NC700 and the way that it worked, but these I think are a little bit better just because of the positioning. The QC Ultras now have just two buttons, one for power and pairing and the other is a multifunction button. But I do have issues with both. Starting with the multifunction. You press it to start and pause your music. Press it twice to skip a song or 3 times to go back, but this doesn't always work. Depending on the app that I was using, the skip and rewind function sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. The power button down here was a little more frustrating at first, and it was mostly a matter of expectations. On the QuietComfort, there's a switch on the side of the headphone to turn them on or off. That's gone, and the style here is more like the NC700, where you press the button and they turn on. The thing is that with the NC700, you'd press the button and you'd immediately hear the sound telling you that these are on. The QC Ultras don't do that. For these, you press the button, a quick press mind you, and then about 5 infinite seconds later, they finally turn on. Take a listen. Finally, a quick note about battery. These have 24 hours of music playback with the standard features on, and they have a quick charge of 3 hours of music in 15 minutes, so pretty much in line with all their previous headphones. They do have a power management feature, so you can set them to turn off after a period of time. So, grades. Looks, 5 out of 5. They're basic but sophisticated. Build, 4 out of 5. Bose was going for lightweight with these, but they still managed to make something that feels sturdy. Comfort, 5 out of 5. A little bit of ear heat aside, I can wear these all day long, no issues. Usability design, 3 out of 5. Generally okay, but there are issues with both the multifunction and the power buttons that are not there in previous versions. And battery life, 2.5 out of 5. 24 hours isn't bad, but nearly everything else these days out there blows that out of the water. Now, when it comes to sound, okay, so I want to point out that I generally enjoy how Bose tunes their headphones. The sound is fun. They sound decently clear for Bluetooth headphones in this price range, but Bose made a few changes with the QC Ultra which can really change your experience with them depending on what you're doing, and whether you like this or hate this very much depends on your tastes. And before I continue, if you've been finding this useful, please consider hitting that like button and maybe subscribing. I hate to give you homework, but that stuff really helps out the channel. The big new feature that Bose introduced with the QuietComfort Ultra was the immersive audio feature. QuietComfort Ultras do some software magic to make things sound more open and like they're coming from a specific direction outside of the headphones themselves. There are 3 settings. Off, which is your basic stereo sound. Motion, which gives you the immersive sound, but it keeps you at the center of it no matter what direction you're facing. And still, which makes the audio sound like it's coming from a fixed point in front of you, so that when you turn your head or you look up or down, the sound stays at the same point, at least for about 30 seconds or so. Then it just recalibrates so that whatever you're facing becomes the front again. In theory, this sounds really cool. In practice, I am not totally sold on this feature. Here's the thing, immersive audio is great for movies and games, but for music, I just kept it off because it made the sound less warm and more artificial. Yes, it felt more open, but it also felt more grating. It was cool at first, but the novelty eventually just wore off and it felt exhausting, at least with music. But if you like it, remember that you have to manually turn it back on whenever you turn the headphones off and then on again. Now, when it comes to music, Bose's tuning is Bose's tuning. If you've heard and like Bose, you'll probably like the tuning on these. The thing with Bose is that they tend to saturate the highs and lows some, so while I don't really feel that these are audiophile grade headphones in the sense that they'll reveal every detail of what you're listening to, you can use a 3-band EQ in the app to drop the bass some and maybe the treble just a notch or two to give these a slightly warmer mid-forward tuning that sounds great for music that relies heavily on the vocals. Or you could just do what I do and use the reduced bass preset. That's pretty good too. Of course, if you love your deep, rumbling bass, then Bose has you covered. Max that out on the EQ and enjoy the rumbles. But being a bass head myself, I actually felt that the sound was better on these with the bass turned down a notch or 8. A few songs that I really enjoyed with these were Reflection by Tool, Panopticon by Peter Gabriel, Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, and Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. In all those, I think these shone because they had a fun, balanced tone throughout for that type of music. I do really wish that Bose had more than just these 4 basic EQ presets in the app. A setting for rock, classical hip hop, acoustic, and movies. I know that I would use it all day long, but I also wish that I could switch EQ presets manually on the headphones themselves, just like you can with the immersive modes. I think this was a missed opportunity, but something that could be easily fixed with an update. Detail, resolution, and resonance were what I've come to expect out of Bose. Decent, but not spectacular. What I found a bit disappointing was the spaciousness and directionality of the sound. Even with immersive audio on, I found the sound to feel a little more on the cramped side. This isn't necessarily bad if you like the studio type of sound, which I think most people will. But if you like this wide open sound, then these won't exactly give you that. Still, I like the way that these sound, and I think that most people will too, especially with a little help from the EQ. But I do feel that these sound much better with immersive audio off than on. With movies and shows, that's a different story entirely. First off, if your primary use case is movies and shows, the QuietComfort Ultra should be near the top of your list for selections. In fact, I like these for shows and movies more than I like them for music. And unlike with music, I don't feel that the sound really suffers here with immersive audio. It's rich, it's full, it's immersive. Not quite surround sound, but decent enough. I'll be transparent, I don't normally like watching movies with headphones on, but this is an exception. Now, when it comes to video games, these are fine, they'll do the job, but only if you also play games. If that's your primary use case, don't go with this. There's way better options out there, go with one of those. One last technical point on sound is that the QC Ultras also use the standard SBC and AAC codecs. But the QC Ultras also introduce a few really cool features for Android users in the form of aptX Adaptive Sound, which is a higher end codec, Snapdragon sound, which lets them handle lossless music over Wi-Fi, and the new aptX lossless format. This means that these headphones will be able to handle some of the best wireless sound out there for some time to come. Keep this in mind if you're considering the lower tier headphones or the QuietComfort 45s, especially if you're using Android. You're probably going to get better sound from the same sources with the QC Ultras than you will with any other Bose headphones. Finally, I'll drop this here. If you're making lots of calls, these are definitely good for that. The microphone helps block out a lot of external noise and isolates your voice, and you can decide how much of your own voice you want to hear during calls. Anyways, here's a quick mic test. So this is the microphone on the Bose QuietComfort Ultra. I'm right now walking by a somewhat busy road. It's not terribly busy. It is a little bit chilly today, so if I sound like my speech is slurred, it's because my face is not. So next to me there's a road, there's cars passing by. It's not too terribly busy, but it's also not light, especially for this area. So I just want to know what my vocal clarity is like. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, so grades. Sound. 4 out of 5. I like the sound, but the immersive audio was a bit of a disappointment. Calls, 4 out of 5. This is great for calls, but like all Bluetooth headphones, voice quality could be better. So back to my original question. Are these worth the upgrade from something like the QC45s? Now, if you're looking for brand new headphones, then yeah, absolutely, I recommend them, end of story. But if you're looking for an upgrade, if you're thinking, is there something better? These are an upgrade in every respect, and with a score of 4.1 out of 5, they did pretty well in my tests. But if you're not itching for the upgrade, save your money. Now, if you're considering other options, I think the best alternatives around the same price are probably the Bowers & Wilkins PX7S2E, the Sennheiser Momentum 4, the Sony WH-1000X Mark V, and the Apple AirPods Max if you're an Apple user. If you want to see any of these comparisons, let me know in the comments. Until then, check out any of these reviews, which I think are worth watching, and thank you for watching.